Blunt Cuts is a podcast fueled by creativity, curiosity, and empowerment.
We cut through the daily mess of life. This is unfiltered honesty.
Park your passive at the door. This is Blunt Cuts. Welcome to Blunt Cuts. I'm CJ, and please welcome to the studio Hillary Kline, local news personality and PR specialist, an all-around amazing woman. Welcome, Hillary.
Hello. Thanks so much for having me. Good to be here.
We are so excited to have you in today, and Hillary has one of those topics, and this was one of those things that she posted out on social media, and occasionally we are on the troll at Blunt Cuts to find people saying awesome stuff that they want to get blunt about that they don't even know they want to get blunt about. So Hillary made a Facebook post and she was just like, I'm done. I'm done with like all of these expectations on life and that it has to be on a certain timeline and that we have to do all these things in some weird unwritten rule and book by a timeline. So today we are uncovering just life timelines and what the fuck. So welcome.
What the fuck is right?
I'm so excited to get into this with you, but let's tell everyone a little bit about you and where you come from and your background, just so we have some context about you.
Sure. So I'm originally from Wisconsin, a small town of about 5,000 people called Berlin. The biggest thing they have is Walmart. So
oh my gosh, I'm equally from Little Falls, Minnesota, which is a small town, and all they had when I grew up was Walmart as well. So I think there were about 7,000.
Okay,
so we have you slightly beat.
Right.
But at the same time, yes, Walmart. That's it.
That's the big guy. So I moved to Minnesota. I went to school at the U of M for journalism, and I moved back to Minnesota about 4 years ago, where I'm currently working in PR. I also do a bunch of things around the Twin Cities. I MC, I host, I'm an event correspondent.
You are so busy.
I'm all over the place.
Good.
I'm on
So
Twin
happy.
Cities Live once a month as their beauty expert. I'm on Evine. I'm just always keeping busy. So
well, congratulations on all of that.
Thank you.
I think you are making your own timeline when it comes to career and life goals, and you're just rocking it right now.
Thank you.
And it's fun when sometimes all of that comes at once, but that's also a little bit of a pressure, right?
It really is. It really is.
So let's get talking a little bit about this idea of timelines, and kind of tell me where you were in that place when you posted your Facebook post. Like, where were you at that point in life emotionally, or
Yeah, for sure. So I think it stems from an early age. I obviously posted that during a time where I was just like, fuck these like standards. I'm 31 years old. I look all around. I mean, social media can be a dumpster fire at times. And you look around and you're just like, oh man, am I supposed to be married at this age? Am I supposed to be having kids? Like, my friend from high school is, popping out baby number 3, and I am just not at that spot at all. But again, it goes back to an early age where you go to school and then you graduate high school and then you're supposed to get, into college if that's the right path for you. And then after college, it's like find a job and then find a job, find somebody to love on you, get engaged. And I think it really stems from that early age, but also these pressures from family, of my mom making the comment of, when are you going to settle down and have kids? I'm like, Mom, how about when I'm ready? Right. And she's made comments, too, of like, I love my mom dearly, and I know she means well, but I think it's also a generational thing of, she wants to have grandkids. She does have one, so that at least takes a little bit of pressure off
Somebody
of me.
removed the edge.
Right. But it's also just like, I'm not ready for that. And you look around and you think, when will I be ready for that? Is there a certain time frame? Is there a certain mindset? I don't know. And so I've been thinking about the topic for a while because I'm dating somebody, and I moved to a new place at the beginning of April, and a lot of people were asking, oh, are you moving in with your boyfriend? And it caught me off guard a little bit, and it also pissed me off because I'm just like, okay, why do we think like that's a question that you should ask? And I don't know if people just lack conversational skills, or if they're just nosy, or they're making small talk. I don't know. I want to, assume the best, but also you just never know. And I'm just like, why are we asking that?
Yeah, and I think couples, I mean, I know some couples locally that I'm good friends with that do not yet have children, but have been married for a long time, and they're out in the scene. And like, I constantly hear people saying, oh my gosh, it's so nice to meet you. Are you guys going to have kids? Just
stop. And it's like, you don't know what those people are going through. You don't know if they can't have kids. You don't know. You just don't know. And so, I don't know. It's been bothering me a lot lately where it's like, okay, I'm 31. You go to the doctor and they're just like, are you thinking of having kids or blah, blah, blah. It's like, then you have that other pressure of, is your internal clock ticking? Like, what does that mean? Am I going to be an old maid forever? No. I don't know. Having just gone through fertility treatments, that's a real thing. Get your levels checked. Know where you are. Have a baseline for your own woman's health. Like, that would be a recommendation I would make to like all women out there, just in general. But back to this timeline thing. I mean, I think small towns have a big impact on that, at least for me. For sure. Coming from a small town, I married my high school sweetheart. Oh, sweet. So, yeah, real sweet. I didn't know that. No, but it was one of those things that we were best friends. I was modeling a lot in high school and middle school and traveling quite a bit. So he was my place of home. So he's always my best friend, the person I called in and checked in with, when I'm traveling or doing whatever I'm doing. And then college came around. And I was thinking of New York, kind of had a school set up there, got everything settled. And then my backup was back here. And I ended up saying, nope, I need to just come back to Minnesota and do school. And my husband ended up going to the same school. So we went to St. Olaf 4 years. Still like really great friends, dating the entire time. But like, that idea of, okay, what's next? Like, I think we were already having been high school boyfriend and girlfriend. I mean, we were one or two different kinds of people in high school. College, we were 3 or 4 different, so are we still compatible? Like, I remember he proposed our junior year of college and I said no. Oh, wow. How'd you take it? I think it was just he felt like it's what needed to come next. This whole like perpetual timeline thing. And I'm like, let's get done with school. Let's figure it out. You're going to live in China and Japan. I'm going to live in Paris. Like, let's go do that. Right. We'll figure it out. Like, we're not going anywhere from each other. We love and support each other. But like, that doesn't need to be a pressure we're worrying about right now. Right. So then senior year, he ended up proposing over Christmas. And I had actually said yes. So we ended up getting married right after college and then like started our lives. We had roommates. Well, I mean, I was 21. He was just almost turning 21. Nice. So yeah, it's kind of one of those things like, oh my gosh, we are so young, but for us, it was right. It was the right time. It all felt right. But then the next questions start. When are you going to get a house? What are you? I'm like, we are still very much in our 20s needing to have roommates. Like, this is real life. We may paper or not, like we might be married, but we don't need this nest yet. Like, we weren't ready for that. So that was a big thing to like explain to our parents. Like, okay, we're okay having roommates. This is good. We both have entry level paying jobs. Like, we need to just figure life out a bit. And, then we had Ava when I was 25, and then we did end up like, okay, we're pregnant. Let's get a space. But we even had a roommate like while I was kind of pregnant. Nice. So it was just one of those things. Like, we slowly worked into like our alone nest in place. And but yeah, I think that pressure of timeline and where you're going to be. And I know I had this internal pressure coming from a family that like, my mom she's a school lunch lady and she works her butt off. And like, my stepdad drives truck. Like, he came from a very blue collar family. Like, they worked their asses off to like give us everything we needed. Yeah. But there was never like an abundance, So I think I always had this internal like push of like, I need to get to the next step. I need to get to the white picket fence sooner. Like, I need the dogs and the cats and the kids. And like, so. But like, why is that? I don't know, and it was there, but I do know that I had it. And now that I'm 35, I kind of look back, I'm like pregnant again in a whole different form and way. With our first kid, it was just one of those, like, this is kind of what comes next. What's next? Yeah, so we were trying to have a baby, but I can't necessarily tell you that I actively thought about
like I did with this one.
Right.
So it was just like, oh, okay, we've been married like over 5 years. We should probably like think about this. We both knew we wanted to be young parents and not old parents. And so, but it is that crazy. And for me, I think it was a combination of small town and internal pressure.
Oh, for sure. And I mean, too, coming from a small town as well, I mean, social media, again, I don't keep in contact with a lot of people from my hometown. So social media has kind of been a tool to like, check up or, see what's going on in their lives. And it's like certain people are still in that small town and they're on baby number 4. And I don't know if I just have baby fever or like what this is. I mean, at the same time, it's like it feels like a checklist in certain aspects. My mom made a comment a couple weeks ago. Again, bless my mom, but it goes back to those societal pressures. She's like, hey, I saw your first grade teacher at church the other Sunday. And I'm like, oh, Mrs. Mackin, like blast from the past. And she was asking me, about me and what she's up to. And at that point, I was starting a new job. And the question out of Mrs. Mackin's mouth to my mom was, oh, is she married? And my mom made the comment of, oh, she's like a professional. Like, she's like seeing somebody, but I don't know. And so I'm like,
oh boy.
I didn't know how to take that comment. I was sitting in a Target parking lot in Maple Grove, and I was just like, oh, man, Hillary, like, bite your tongue because you just want to go off because it's like, first you make a comment of, when are you going to settle down and have kids?
And
like,
there's a whole reason. She's a professional, so there's this need for a label to explain why you're not meeting some specific milestone that's necessary before 31.
Right. And I'm like, okay, so if I'm a professional, does that mean I'm like not the marrying type? Am I not made out for motherhood? Like, what does that even mean? And again, I think it reverts back to generational sort of standards. Like my parents got married young and, their parents got married young. And I'm over here just like, I have goals. I have career goals. And that brings up a point, too, of putting pressure on yourself professionally.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, at 31, I work in PR. I just started a new job a couple weeks ago. I'm loving it. But I also have all of these different side hustles and passion projects that really fuel me, and it's my dream to do more television work. But then you look at the age and you're just like, I'm 31. Should I have started this sooner? Or that's just putting more pressure on yourself of just like, am I too old? Like,
you're 31. No,
I
you're
know,
not too old.
but you have people that make those comments along, over time of, why weren't you doing this sooner? Or you should have done this straight out of school. Or then you go down this spiral almost of just like second guessing yourself of, should I have started this sooner? But at the same time, I feel like, to contradict myself, I feel like you can chase your goals and your dreams at any age. I have a friend who's in his 50s, and he's like, I wish I would have done this when I was in college, or I wish I would have done that, or, this, that, or the other thing. And it's like, you're not dead yet. You can still chase those goals and dreams.
Seize the day. I mean, I think from your perspective of this idea of ageism in media, I know that personally it's been a struggle, and I didn't like myself until at least age 32.
For sure.
So there was a clear day where I was like, yeah, fuck this negative noise and these people that are draining me, and I love me, so I'm going to be me. I'm going to stand up for what I believe in. I'm going to stand up for other women just trying to be themselves.
Absolutely.
And support that and support them. And that's that, that idea of ageism for me. If I would have done it at 20, I wouldn't have.
You're at a different mindset.
It wouldn't have been the impact that I feel I can make now.
So on the topic of ageism, I had this goal and this dream of really making a bang on my 30th birthday. And so I went back and forth for a couple months of what can I do? Where should I go? At that point, I was single. I was kind of ready to mingle, but not really. But I decided, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to go to Greece.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
It was insane. I pulled the trigger. I spent that money on that ticket. I waited literally to the very last minute because I was just like, you know what? I don't want to ask my friend who's married and has 2 kids, you know, going through like, I don't know if I can leave the kids for that long. So I'm just like, screw it, I'm going to go by myself. And I had traveled like nationally, but not internationally before by myself. And so I was a little afraid, but at the same time, I felt like deep down I needed something that was just freeing. And so I booked the ticket. I flew into Athens, and I was in Athens for a few days, and then I flew from Athens to Santorini. So, like, picture, like, Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants, like,
oh my gosh,
the cool blue tops, like, the donkeys, like, the really attractive, like, Greek men. Oh, my God. And the food, it was insane. And so I stayed in this huge house that I had this sweet hookup from someone at work. She actually had like a house in Santorini. It was a 3-bedroom house.
How perfect.
A pool,
the
like
stars
overlooking.
align.
It was just insane. I'm like, this is a bit much for just me, you know? But at the same time, I'm like, celebrate yourself. And so I spent a couple days in Santorini, and then I took a high-speed ferry to Crete and spent my birthday there and drank wine and ate great food. But along the way, I had some negative feedback from, you know, people around me of just like, should you be doing that? Should you be going by yourself? Do you feel safe? And I'm like, hell yeah, I'm an independent woman. I'm fine. Like, I had the time of my life, but it was sad that these people were like, in a way, doubting and questioning my decision to go. And I would honestly do it over again. I mean,
right. Some people don't even like to go have a dinner by themselves, let alone travel internationally. Yeah. So that is like a power. That's an amazing thing. And like that you just said, yes, well, like this is for me and treat me and be there. And I think that those moments in our lives we just can really grow from.
Oh, for sure.
Like, do you find from that experience and that alone time somewhere else you were able to kind of come back with a different mindset?
Oh, definitely. I mean, you're there by yourself, so you're learning to enjoy your own company. And I wasn't like that for a long time. I always felt like I need to have somebody go to dinner with me. I need to have somebody go to a concert with me. I need to go to a movie with somebody else. Like, I was afraid to do things by myself, and I'm not really sure why. So that trip for me was kind of life-altering of, you can spend time with yourself and it's not going to be awkward, maybe uncomfortable in the beginning, but you've got to learn how to love yourself. You've got to learn how to spend time with yourself. And so coming back, it was super empowering. I was on this high for a couple weeks. I'm just like, man, where can I plan my next trip? And then I started dating my current boyfriend. So, you know,
awesome.
I'll still
maybe you'll travel together, but you're like, maybe I need this for myself.
Maybe. It's nice just to spend time with yourself too. So
that's awesome. And I think as a mom of 2, now almost 3,
sure,
those days of self don't happen anymore, and they're like very few and far between, so you take them for such like treasures.
Absolutely.
Not that I don't love being with my family and my children, but I do take that treasured alone time, even if it's in my commute.
Yeah.
Like to
That's
listen
time,
to the
Christina.
podcast that I want to listen to drink the coffee that I want to drink in peace. You know, just like those moments of like self-love are so important. So, well, congratulations on your journey. So if listeners are here hearing us talk about these timelines, what are some actionable things that you have learned? Mm-hmm. I'm sure you're still working through it all, right? But what are some things that you've learned to kind of respond to this energy when people put that out there? What are some tips you can kind of give?
Yeah, that's a great question. Again, I feel like I am still learning. I am still growing. At 31, I feel like I'm going to be practicing, you know, certain things for a lifetime. But when people ask those questions, I usually take a deep breath and I try to remind myself of they have to be coming from a good place. I hope they're coming from a good place. I don't know if they just lack communication skills or the small talk thing again, but I try to remind myself that I too am on my own timeline. I don't need to adjust or succumb to these societal pressures of you need to be having kids now or have him start looking at rings now. And so I think it's that inner talk that's really helped me. Also, journaling is a great little outlet. I recommend that to everyone. When I was moving, it was funny. I found like diaries and journals from when I was a teen. I had some pretty rough years and pretty emotional years of, talking about boys and whatnot and emotional times.
No, it's so fun to see our former selves in those ways when you're ready to kind of digest and go through that information.
Exactly.
I know therapy has taken me down some of those journeys. I'm like, okay, close that door for a little bit. I'm just not there to go through that segment of life.
Oh, exactly.
Put that behind me. I'm done.
Right. I'm like, I can't reread this. I'm like sitting on the floor, like crying. I'm like, gosh, Hillary, you need to go back to therapy. But
I cry all the time, so it's absolutely
it's fine. It's fine. Crying is good for you. But I think journaling has really helped. And then you can look back, a couple years from now and be like, oh, okay, that's how I was feeling now. And then again, like to your point of just seeing how far you've come. So inner self-talk, journaling, and just being on your own timeline. Fuck the other ones.
I know. And it's so funny from my perspective of learning lessons learned. So I followed probably this perpetual timeline a little more closely than most, but it's so funny when I'm out and about and I'm at a fashion event or I'm at an event where I'm speaking on a panel or when I bring up that I have children and people are so surprised. And so it's almost the opposite, that I get this question of how do you have time for kids? Like, how do you have kids? How do you have a family? And so it's this reverse shaming of because I'm a mom and because I have a husband and because I have a home in the suburbs with the dogs and the grass and all the things. Like, I get this, oh, I had no idea you had kids. Like, why don't you ask me? Like, this is like this assumption that because I've gone down a path of like this push forward, career driven, that's my personality. I love working. Like I do. I always have. Like I love what I do. But that doesn't mean that I can't also have my family.
Right.
So there isn't like, and your whole thing about professional woman, she's not married yet because she's a professional woman. Fuck that.
Well, exactly.
Like,
so you can't have both then? Like, I don't understand where that comes from, really. Like,
so that is one of those things that I've just had to like retrain the conversation a little bit. And because I am blunt, I will like kind of call people out. If it's somebody that like I feel I have time invested in the relationship, I'll take the time. But if it's just a small talk thing, a lot of times I'm just like, oh my gosh, I don't even know how to like put that in a like nice to see you. Oh, I had no idea you had children. Like what? Okay.
It's like smile, nod, see you later.
It's so hard. So that's something I would love some more tools on, and that, I want to work through a little bit more, is trying to help like educate that conversation of like,
because how do you respond to
why
something
do we have
like
to
that?
worry about this like overarching timeline when we're all just doing our thing? And I like to think I'm doing my thing pretty damn well.
Doing your thing damn well, girl. You're juggling it all. You're kicking it,
and it feels great to juggle. Like I can't imagine having a plate of just like one thing.
Right.
Like I like the multi-tiered plate with all the little compartments, and it's heaping full, and I have 2 or 4 in one hand. Yeah, that's how I like life.
You're killing it. Killing it, Christina.
Well, thank you for hanging out with us.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure.
Where can people find you?
Sure. You can find me on Instagram. My handle is Kline to the Top, or my website, which is www.klinetothetop.com.
Awesome. And let's continue this conversation on Instagram. We'd really love to hear what you think about these timelines put on us by life and society. And we basically say screw them. So you can...
Absolutely. They're bullshit.
They're bullshit. You can find us at Blunt Cuts Podcast.